Hello everybody, this is Vincent. It's been a real long time since I recorded, sorry about that. Today, I want to talk about something that has just happened with the whole Trump inauguration situation. You've seen, lots of things going on with that, with the wild changes to the government that's been happening. Although, I want to talk about something that happened a couple of days ago with Biden's preemptive pardons. You see, it was talked about for a long time that Biden may preemptively pardon some members of his family and a couple of other people like, Liz Cheney and Anthony Fauci, because the idea was that Trump might target them in political prosecutions. And this was a fairly accepted idea because Trump tends to do that kind of thing, where he will, for example, the birthright citizenship thing, where he will do something very outlandish that has a low chance of getting held up in court in order to make a point. And I don't know if you guys have heard, but he struck down birthright citizenship via executive order, and then a judge immediately got rid of that. But he was making the point that birthright citizenship should not exist anymore, in his opinion. In this case, though, I would argue that what Biden did with the preemptive pardons of specifically Liz Cheney, Anthony Fauci, and a couple of his family members was entirely unconstitutional and should not be allowed. And I'm going to use this video as a way to describe my position on that. This is not a referendum on whether or not Biden was a good or bad president. It's simply discussing the constitutionality of one action he took. So I want to first go into the Constitution itself, which is the best spot to look at this kind of thing. And if you look here in Article 2, Section 2, Section 1, Section 2, etc., you can see in this first clause, specifically, right here, and he shall have power to grant reprieves and pardons for offenses against the United States, except in cases of impeachment. He obviously referring to the president. This sentence here, or this phrase, is extremely important because it's the only sentence in the Constitution, or it's the only thing in the Constitution regarding pardons. So what that does is it makes pardons very vague, and it makes them very vast in their power. And generally speaking, courts tend to allow them to exist as a large, unobstructed thing that the president can do. It's just this, as you can see, just capital P, so to speak, power. Just a unobstructed, wide-reaching ability. Although I would like to argue that Joe Biden has taken it too far this time, because he has given a full pardon for people who have not been even charged with any crimes, and he has dated it back to whoever he dated it back to. Anthony Fauci was dated back to 2014, which is the time that Obama made the rules against gain-of-function research. So that's all but sketchy, and the whole thing is just really corrupt feeling. But even outside of the just feeling of it being corrupt, that's not unconstitutional in and of itself. What's unconstitutional about it is that, in my opinion, Joe Biden did not pardon a crime at all there. Liz Cheney has not been convicted or charged of any crime. Anthony Fauci has not been convicted or charged of any crime. And none of his family members have either. The only pardon that Joe Biden has really made of significance that actually pardoned crimes was his son, Hunter Biden, and his drug and gun charge, etc. And this is what I'm referring to. If you look at this clause here, and he shall have power to grant reprieves and pardons for offenses. Don't mind it's misspelled. It used to be spelled like that back in the 1800s and 1700s. But pardons for offenses against the United States, except in cases of impeachment. This is an important word. Textually, offenses obviously is not the same word as persons. He does not have the power, the president does not have power to grant reprieves and pardons for people. The people are given pardons to fix specific crimes. You can pardon however many crimes you choose that a person has committed, and it exonerates them of those crimes. And that's the way it works. But you don't get to pardon a person if nothing has been shown to exist. this is my second point I'd like to make, is that when this was written, presidents tried before Joe Biden. Joe Biden's not the first president to try this. Presidents before him have tried to use preemptive pardons, like with Gerald Ford, with Richard Nixon, but it happened even with Andrew Johnson, as far as, and he wasn't using preemptive pardons necessarily, but he was pardoning the treasoners in the Confederacy. Sorry about that. Specifically, this is in the Supreme Court case Ex Parte Garland from 1866, where Andrew Johnson pardoned a lawyer named Garland that was a Confederate lawyer, and the Congress tried to make it so he could not practice law anymore. And in Clause 9 of this, it is very important to my argument. It says, the power of pardon conferred by the Constitution upon the President is unlimited except in cases of impeachment. It extends to every offense known to the law and may be exercised at any time after its commission, either before legal proceedings are taken or during their pendency, or after conviction and judgment. The power is not subject to legislative control. Now, this might cause you to think, well, they're just saying that powers are infinite, or that the power of pardon is infinite, and we can't really do anything about it. I would like to make an alternative argument. While it says the power of pardon conferred by the Constitution upon the President is unlimited, except in cases of impeachment, it's not really unlimited, because it then specifies what it extends to. Right here. It extends to every offense known to the law, not to every person or every situation where a person might be politically prosecuted and would therefore need a shield from that. No, it's every specific offense. So you cannot pardon, and look, may be exercised. It gives a time period for it. May be exercised any time after its commission, either before legal proceedings, during, or after. What that means, commission in this case, its commission is the commission of a crime. In other words, being charged with a crime. For example, one could say if you commit a DUI and a police officer stops you and charges you with driving while you're under the influence of intoxication, that you have been commissioned, that the crime of DUI has been commissioned upon you, and therefore you must now go take the proper legal proceedings. That is what I'm referring to. A president can pardon someone who has had the commission of a crime placed upon them, such as DUI or anything else, because it says it is known, every offense known to the law. So it's literally all of it. But there has to be an offense present to pardon someone. If Anthony Fauci has not been charged with anything, that means that there was no, I'll show you the specific quote again, there was no commission of a crime. And if there's no commission of a crime, then the pardon, which is the thing that can be exercised, it cannot be exercised because it is not after the commission of the crime. It is before legal proceedings, but legal proceedings can't happen without the commission of a crime because the commission of a crime hasn't happened yet. Now, alternatively, if let's say that Anthony Fauci were charged with, I don't know, misusing federal funds or something, and Biden is still president, hypothetically. Just let's ignore all politics and just assume that this guy is still president. Then he could pardon Anthony Fauci for that. That is totally legal and totally fine. It'd be sketchy for sure, but not any less. It wouldn't be any more sketchy than the pardoning of January 6th rioters that Trump did. So specifically the violent ones. So all I'm getting at is the unconstitutionality of what Biden did, which is to say that you cannot pardon a human being. The way pardons work in our country, and it's not even based on our own rules. This is hundreds of years old. The pardon rules that we got are actually from Britain. in the like 1700s and even 1600s, the king could grant, or the monarch could grant clemency for crimes. And even there, it had to be for a specific crime. You could not grant blanket pardons for your brother or something and then just ignore the rule of law. Now, granted, there was, of course, corruption in monarchical Britain, but the way it was supposed to work anyway was that you couldn't grant blanket pardons there. And that rule is like 400 years old. So I don't really understand the idea that we can just walk around that. Like, for example, Jim Biden is one of the Bidens that is perceived by the House Oversight Committee run by James Comer to have accepted like shell corporation money from like Ukraine or China or something. And that man, he is still innocent. Nothing has happened that proves him to have done anything wrong. He has not been charged with any crimes, convicted of any crimes. Therefore, you cannot pardon him. A pardon is, in the very least, an admission of some form of guilt. And the way I define guilt in this situation is that the law at some point found that you might be guilty of something. That's the way I'm determining it. And it's the admission that you might be guilty of something. To pardon someone without admitting they might be guilty of something, which is what Joe Biden tried to do, is null. Because Joe Biden never actually pardoned Jim Biden of any crimes. So if Jim Biden is ever investigated and a crime is found and a charge is placed upon him, the pardon doesn't do anything. Because Joe Biden never laid out a crime to be pardoned of, and Jim Biden was never actually pardoned of any crime anyway. So yeah, that's my thought on it. I'm gonna keep looking into this sort of thing. Also, if y'all want me to make more videos on the inauguration and the transition of power and all this, I definitely will. I've been really busy, I'm not gonna lie, so I'm gonna keep working on this. And yeah, I'm probably gonna make a video pretty soon about the Trump presidency and what's gonna be changing with that. Plus the purchase of Greenland. I know you guys were talking about with the other videos of Mexico, Canada, and Greenland. I called the Greenland thing. I saw an article about it a couple months ago, and I knew, yeah, this is going to happen. So I would say Mexico, highly unlikely. Canada, also highly unlikely. But Greenland, don't sleep on Greenland. Greenland might be U.S. territory soon. Anyway, that's all I have for y'all today. Go ahead and subscribe if you want to see some more of this. I'm going to keep working to try to make more videos as often as I can, as opposed to taking these giant breaks. But yeah, that's all for me right now. Thank y'all. Bye-bye.